The greatest cartoon characters of all time, classic television, exciting football in the spring. This is the USCFL Network, celebrating 40 years of excellence.
Let's get ready to rumble!
YouTube, the American Association of Animation and First and 10 Productions presents the USCFL pregame show. An inside look into the United States Cartoon Football League and a preview of tonight's featured game, right here on the USCFL Network, presented by Robbie Graham.
Greetings, cartoon and football fans, and especially fans of She-Ra. This is Robbie Graham of the USCFL Network as we continue the new She-Ra's Overtime Challenge. So far, the new She-Ra has scored 21 points out of a possible 32. However, she is running out of chances, and most importantly, she is running out of margin of error. Even though there is still 9 rounds left, this challenge could be over with unless she can start scoring some 8s. As we go into round 5, the new She-Ra has a score of exactly 100 points, still with a minus 60 point differential and a margin of error of just 12 points. We encourage you on YouTube to participate here, but so far, no one has taken advantage of it. In a moment, we will give you our reviews and scores for rounds 5 and 6. Remember, if you don't participate, we can't change the score. Should the margin of error run out, we will still review the rest of Season 4, and we will see what score the new She-Ra does end up with. And now, here's our reviews for rounds 5 and 6. As a reminder, we're doing these episodes in chronological order, so episode 5 of season 4 will be referred to as episode 31. And for round 5, the episode is called Protocol. And here is my senior moderator's take on this episode. He wrote, and I quote, "Adora goes to the Crystal Castle for training with Light Hope and uses the opportunity to try to get some answers to questions about her future role. However, a storm of acid spores damages the castle and Light Hope is forced to reboot herself. During the reboot, she appears to want to help Adora, but does not have the answers that Adora is seeking. Adora does witness Mara coming to the castle bringing flowers to Light Hope in an attempt to brighten the hologram's existence. Meanwhile, Horde cadets Kyle, Lonnie, and Rogelio are transporting some armor plating through the Whispering Woods when they too are trapped by the spore storm, which damages their transporter. Catra orders them by comm channel to fix the transporter and complete their mission. They grumble about being expendable and about Catra not sharing her plan with them so that they can carry out their missions more effectively. Eventually, Kyle goes outside to repair the transporter, but he is overcome by the acid spores before finishing the repairs. Lonnie and Rogelio come to his rescue, sacrificing one of the armor plates in doing so. Rogelio completes the repairs and they go on their way, satisfied that the three can trust each other to look out for themselves, despite the way that they are treated by Horde leaders. As for Adora, she eventually is able to enable the Crystal Castle to repair itself, and Light Hope finishes her reboot and returns to her distant personality. After Adora leaves, Light Hope coldly deletes the memory of her interaction with Mara. There was not much plot or character development in this episode, and what little there was involved the three Horde cadets. I therefore only give this episode a score of 3. And now here is my take on the same episode, and I wrote as follows. The episode begins with Kyle, Lonnie, and Rogelio driving a transport vehicle through the Whispering Woods, and it's kind of a bumpy ride. And Kyle is in the back bouncing around as if he's in a pinball machine. While in the Crystal Castle, She-Ra continues to practice with Light Hope's help. Once again, She-Ra is being overconfident and even sarcastic. Needless to say, Light Hope wasn't pleased. Reverting back to being Adora, she wants Light Hope to give her answers as to what Mara was talking about when she spoke of some kind of weapon. Light Hope told Adora that all questions would be answered once balance to the planet has been restored. Light Hope begins to glitch and started to sound like a broken record. While in the transport vehicle, it stopped without warning. Neither factor realized that they both would have a problem with a spore storm. This storm is producing some kind of acid spores that eats metal and whatever the Crystal Castle is made of. After the intro ends, Adora tries to pry the door open with the sword. Light Hope warned Adora of the storm. Then all went dark because of the storm. Light Hope was rebooting herself and didn't recognize Adora at that point. Kyle, being the dumbbell he is, let a spore land on his tongue, burning it. The group went back in the transporter to avoid being burned. Catra demanded quick action on the trio's part, but didn't want to hear any excuses. Back in the Crystal Castle, Light Hope said that she now had her reboot done at 22% and learned how to move about. Adora had never seen her like this. When Light Hope asked who Adora was, she took advantage of the situation by saying that she was about to ask Light Hope about Mara and everything associated with her. In the transport, the trio was deciding on who would fix the transport by playing a game similar to rock, paper, scissors. Kyle was trying to make it complicated. Then Kyle used a ball to play a different game. In the Crystal Castle, Light Hope made spider robots and She-Ra was trying to stop them, only for Light Hope to make more. Light Hope then flooded the castle with water. Again in the transport, Kyle was making up another game and making up the rules. Back in the castle, Light Hope didn't realize that Adora/She-Ra can't breathe underwater. The storm got worse on both sides. Adora was told by Light Hope to put a crystal into a slot that would restore everything, but was only 36% sure of it. Adora put the crystal in the left slot, but it made matters worse. In the transport, Lonnie decided that someone should go outside to fix the transport before the spores completely destroys it. Kyle went outside after he told the others off and went outside and risked his life. Back in the castle, Light Hope thought that she was restored, but she wasn't. Adora told Light Hope off and the spores began to fill the castle. Light Hope went to a different room and watched an image of her and Mara as she brought Light Hope flowers. Mara asked Light Hope to smell the flowers, for which she couldn't. Mara actually made Light Hope feel good. Light Hope explained to Adora that her primary purpose is to serve She-Ra, whoever she might be. Adora told Light Hope that she wants to be friends, for which Light Hope agreed to. Outside the transport, Kyle fixed the broken wire, only to be burned badly by the spores. Last, Lonnie and Rogelio rescued him, damaging a valuable piece of equipment Hordak wanted, and went back inside to escape further injury to themselves. Lonnie tended to Kyle's injury and proceeded back to the fright zone. But as they drove off, the spores stopped falling. Adora fixed the castle by putting the crystal back in the right slot. Light Hope had been fully restored and told Adora that once the planet's balance had been restored, all would be clear. Lonnie and Rogelio both told Kyle to take it easy until they returned home. Rogelio is a lizard-like creature and mostly grunts, but the others understand him. Light Hope sees the Mara image again and deletes it, saying that it should be purged, for the Heart of Etheria project would take precedent. The episode ends on this roll. In my opinion, I found it interesting that Kyle is finally getting some recognition after being verbally attacked for 3 seasons, while it seems that Light Hope is showing her true colors. Adora wants to know about the weapon Mara was talking about in a hologram, and apparently the Heart of Etheria project could be this weapon. For the episode's content in general, I give it just 3 points, for the plot lines on both sides could have been better. Remember, if my junior moderator and you on YouTube give it a better score, the score will change. And now, after round 5, the new She-Ra now has a score of 103 points with a minus 57 point differential, and now this is becoming even more serious, a 7-point margin of error. In just a moment, we will give you our reviews and comments for episode 32. For what we're calling episode 32, round 6 is called Princess Scorpia. And here is my senior moderator's take on this episode. He wrote, quote, "This time the main character development is with the Horde storyline, which focuses on the growing realization of Scorpia that Catra is simply a bad friend. The story about the rebellion partisans is less interesting. Adora, Glimmer, Bo, and new recruit Flutterina are attacking Horde outposts along the northern edge of the Whispering Woods. Eliminating these outposts will allow the rebellion's supply lines to and from its allies to restart. The attacks easily succeed, and the fighters gradually realize that all of the outposts have minimal staffing and no robots. We find out that most of the Horde's resources have been pulled back in preparation for Katra's planned offense without the knowledge of Hordak. Hordak is eventually mollified that Katra's actions were proper. Hordak has been trying to perfect Entrapta's devices, but he needs her notes to complete his work. He feels that he needs this tech to ensure the success of Katra's plot. He orders her to recover the notes, and she, in turn, orders Scorpia to find the notes. Scorpia had been keeping Entrapta's robot, Emily, and brings the pet-like robot with her on her mission. Eventually, Scorpia discovers that the notes are contained on a memory chip inside Emily, which cannot be returned without destroying Emily. Since Emily is Scorpia's only true companion, she does not want to do this and lies to Katra that the memory chip was damaged when she removed it from Emily. Katra berates Scorpia, but then does a curious thing. She tells Hordak that Scorpia failed to recover the notes, rather than giving him the damaged chip to see if any useful information can be recovered from it. Is Katra secretly intending to sabotage Hordak's efforts in an attempt to replace him? Meanwhile, Flutterina is using passive-aggressive comments to create a rift between Glimmer and Adora. Fortunately, Bo is there to smooth over the friction, at least for now. After visiting her family's ruined castle, Scorpia realizes that the Horde has simply abused the trust that her grandfather had placed in it when he surrendered his kingdom. Scorpia decides that her friendship with Katra has no future and sneaks off with Emily, intending to rescue Entrapta from Beast Island. There was a lot of important plot and character development in this episode, albeit it all in the Horde storylines. Scorpia has become her own woman. She no longer seeks Katra's friendship and approval. I give this episode my first 7 for the new She-Ra series. And now, here is my take on the same episode, and I wrote as follows. The episode begins with the ever-peppy Scorpia doing a checklist of sorts. She tells Emily about a jacket Katra gave her back in the Crimson Waste. Emily, in her own talk, was telling Scorpia to stop talking about Katra. Scorpia enters a hallway amidst chaos. After the intro ends, Glimmer, Bo, She-Ra, and Flutterina were battling Horde soldiers. She-Ra tosses a Horde soldier and almost put him in orbit, and Glimmer had Glimmer not stopped him from going into orbit. Bo was stopping other soldiers with net arrows. Both Bo and She-Ra were preventing Glimmer from doing any fighting. Glimmer did attack a soldier, and he almost fell off a cliff. She-Ra stopped the last soldier from attack. The series has touted Bo, Glimmer, and She-Ra as the best friend squad, but there is visibly a kink in their armor, and Flutterina was fueling the fire further by making Glimmer feel even worse. In the Fright Zone, Hordak was angry with Katra as she told him that certain outposts had skeleton crews. Hordak told Katra that he needs Entrapta's recordings to complete a weapon as he is trying to prepare for Horde Prime's arrival. In the next scene, Scorpia was carrying a cup of hot tea with Emily trailing her. Katra startled Scorpia, and the tea went out and back in the cup. Word of advice: never startle anyone carrying any hot liquid. Then Lonnie asked Scorpia for help loading heavy containers into a transport. Lonnie shows and tells Scorpia that Katra is letting soldiers get hurt, and Scorpia still can't see Katra for who she really is. In seasons 2 and 3, Scorpia seemed to have the hots for Catra, while she doesn't feel the same. Lonnie tells Scorpia off, and the scene changes to Bo, Glimmer, and She-Ra battling more soldiers with no robots in sight. The argument between She-Ra and Glimmer continues. The argument involves Glimmer getting help from Shadow Weaver and She-Ra's overprotection of her. While arguing, Glimmer blasts soldiers with magic, while She-Ra puts another soldier in the hospital by putting a big dent into a heavy metal pipe. But during this battle, Bo was trying to play peacemaker. Another word of advice: don't offer advice while others are in battle. As Flutterina, Double Trouble leaps into a soldier's arms to get the other's attention. As the scene changes, Scorpia was looking for Entrapta's recordings with Emily's help. As it turned out, Entrapta's recordings were embedded in Emily. At first, Scorpia did not know this at first, but with her own speak, Emily tells Scorpia the only way to get Entrapta's recordings is to dismantle her. Then, with very poor acting, the soldiers were threatening the others. Then Glimmer used magic to levitate them in the air. Then she attempts to use magic to get information out of the soldier. She-Ra keeps telling Glimmer that she shouldn't be doing what she has to keep from getting hurt. But becoming queen has seemed to go to Glimmer's head. Then Emily shows Scorpia that Catra betrayed Entrapta. She stuns her and had her exiled. Now Scorpia has finally seen the light. Scorpia gave Catra a broken piece of metal, saying that she dismantled Emily and damaged the recordings. Catra goes off on Scorpia, and she tells Catra off for being a bad friend. But Catra lied to Hordak by telling him that Entrapta took her recordings with her. He gets mad, but she tells him that he didn't need Entrapta or her recordings, that he had built an empire. Then he tells her that he needs one day to complete a weapon he was working on. The episode ends with Scorpia and Emily leaving the Horde for good and disappears into the light. In my opinion, I have to give Scorpia props for finally seeing Catra for who she really is. Better late than never. But as for the best friend squad, let's say that it's fast becoming the worst enemy squad. But as for the score of this episode, I can't be as generous as my senior moderator was, and I only give this episode 3 points. But unless my junior moderator and you on YouTube give it an even higher score, the new She-Ra is in jeopardy of being defeated, for there will be no more margin of error. But for now, she is still in it. And because of Thanksgiving in the US, we will only rate and review episode 7 next week. Right now, the new She-Ra has a score of 110 points, with still a minus 50 point differential and just a 6-point margin of error. Until next week, we wish you happy Thanksgiving, and I remain humbly, obediently yours. Goodbye for now.